Here we go. Hello, everyone. Apparently, I'm live. Hi. Fee and Dave, I think, were the first online. Fee, anyway, while David was David was plating up the duck. Oh, I'm getting text messages. So Sue's texting me because Jeff is bogged and won't get home till 6:45 now. Sorry to hear that, Jeff, if you're listening on your phone. So David likes to, we've been talking on the chat before we started about decanting, and David and Fiona have had their wine open for a couple of hours, decanted for a couple of hours, and I had a feeling that might have been an excuse to have a glass early, Dave. And you've got bottle two to compare and contrast. Well, I've just ripped the lid off this because I'm a bit, I think I'm a bit thirsty. Moorooduc Estate Rough Play Pinot 2021. So this is I think this is the second Rough Play Pinot we made. I think we did one in 2020, but maybe we only made Magic Stalks. Maybe we only made Magic Stalks in 2020. I don't think Jeremy's on, but if you are, Jeremy, if you could, Dad's wandered off somewhere. Everyone's wandering off today. Hello, Alison. Fort parking in Armidale. Scored duck riots at Victor Churchill. And meeting with Rita, absolutely. I saw the photo. That's so cute. It's nice when you meet like-minded people shopping for the same thing at the same time. Who else is here? I've got the light. The light's not doing what it's supposed to do today, so you have to excuse me squinting at you. Hello, Shell. I'm having trouble with my circular light tonight. I think I'm just a bit overtired and emotional from the weekend that was. But anyway, we'll get there, and we've got a glass of wine now. And Rita, you're not late at all. You got here just on time. It's just quite a lot of people were early today. Who have I not said hello to? I said hello to Dave and Fee and Karen. Who else is there? Karen and Andrew. Karen and Peter. Sorry, Peter. Just having very tired brain. Who else? Kay's there. Hello. Rob. Hello. Who else have I missed? Anyone I've missed? I apologise. Rita's here. Alison's here. Shell and Andrew. Craig and the Goodman clan. Hello, Craig and Karen and Joan. Shell and Andrew are having vegan duck and thyme mushrooms with Meredith goat's cheese unseeded sourdough. Delicious. Sounds yummy. Hello, Shannon. How you going across the road? Sonia, g'day. Sonia, has your box arrived yet? It should have. I hope it has. I hope you're drinking along with us. Otherwise, we're going to have a word with Australia Post. How the Fee and David's duck looks amazing in the photo, so I'll be very interested to hear how it goes. 2024 Devil Band Creek, Rob. What happened to your Rough Play Pinot? Because I know you've got your box. Okay. Rob, drinking alongside the Devil Band Creek 2024. Oh, right. Sorry, I missed your previous comment. Sorry. Iggy's there. G'day, Iggy. Making honey joys, not so good with the wine. No, I can imagine. So, Jeremy, you'll be able to tell me, or Iggy, you can type in for your dad if you like. Is this the first Rough Play Pinot we made in 2021, or did we make one in 2020? I can't remember. Richard's thinking, I think. If anyone can answer that question. Rob's drinking both. Excellent. Crunchy fruit versus firm structure, both delightful. Awesome. Now, I've poured myself a slightly overfull glass because I got overexcited, so it's not swirling as well as it should. But it's a lovely deep colour. As we remember, first one. Yeah, that's what I thought, Jeremy. So this is... Hello, Zach. How are you going? Jack's on her way. Excellent. Yes, Fees suggested, Jeremy, you might need a Sauterne to go with the Honey Joys, or perhaps a nice single malt whiskey would go nicely with Honey Joys. Possibly not Pinot. I did send Jeremy home with a little pot of Riettes, and I've already. I was getting a little bit peckish while I was waiting to start, so I've already dug into my little pot of Riettes. But it's very rich. Anyone who actually had time to study the recipe before they decided not to make it because it was too much work, totally understand. But it's very, very rich. There's a lot of fat in there, and it's quite salty and quite meaty and quite textural. So a little pot goes a long way, but I might be greedy and eat that all up myself. Dad's got one over on his table that he has to share with Jill, and we sent Pete home with some too. So hopefully Pete and Nina are just about enjoying their Pinot Noir with the Riettes at home. Dad, once you've poured your glass, could I have the bottle back, because it's got important information on it that I need? Do you want to pour some for Mum before you pour some for Jill? No?
I'll pour her some when she comes in.
Fair enough. I had to have a little sip because I'm a bit thirsty, a bit hungry, a bit thirsty, a bit tired. It's been a big week, been a big couple of weeks. Hello, Loans. How you going? Loan said, I always think this wine is creamy. I kind of know what you mean. It's got a real texture to it. And if you remember, Kay's drinking the 2020 Magic Storks Shiraz. Rob saying all the food pics on the WhatsApp channel look fantastic. I know the chefs have done very, very well, Rob. What are you eating with your two Pinots? Have you got some duck terrine or something? I hope that those of you who sadly, a liquid start to dinner is always not such a bad thing. So the Rough Play Pinot has got lots of writing on the label, and it's a wine that came about when we had probably more time on our hands to think about things and less of a chance to go out and about. If you remember, after the very long lockdown in 2020, and then we were let out for some of summer, and then we went into lockdown again in 2021. And 2021 vintage was very quiet. We weren't allowed to have visitors for a lot of that time in Cellar Door. We just concentrated on making wine. We just came to work, made wine, went home and isolated, as was the want back in those days. And I'm pretty sure that this was Jeremy's idea, at least principally. I'm not sure if Dad had did you have, no? This is Jeremy's experiment. So if you're on, Jeremy, and you've got time to comment, and if I say anything wrong or if you want to add anything, please feel free. But otherwise, I'm going to make it up as I go along. So the idea with this wine, what's Craig saying? Loans, I don't think I got the intensity of the fruit and acid in this, which leaves it very balanced, so smooth and creamy. Yeah, I think that this wine, hello, Linda, not too late. We haven't really said anything particularly important. Okay, Alison, I will remind you exactly how this wine's made, because it's much more complicated than that, and it's not entirely a whole bunch at all. So that's so we had two experimental wines. We had the Magic Stork Shiraz and we had the Rough Play Pinot, and Kay's drinking the Magic Stork Shiraz, which is the one that's whole bunch, whereas this wine, the Rough Play Pinot, was done very differently. And when Jeremy explained to me what he wanted to do to this wine, I immediately thought of how port is made. Although we obviously don't fortify this wine, the technique in the early stages of winemaking is very similar. So this wine it's Pinot Noir, destemmed from the garden vineyard, destemmed back into the little fruit bins, and we then took those fruit bins and put them on the ground and took our shoes and socks off and washed our feet very well. And we got in and we walked around on top of the fruit to squash the fruit as perfectly as we could. What I mean by that is we wanted to crush every berry. We wanted to extract all of the juice out of the berries, and we wanted to bruise up the skins. So we're wanting to extract tannin and colour and flavour from the skins in an aqueous solution. So before it starts fermenting, before there's alcohol in the mix, different tannins, different flavours in the skins are extracted by water or an aqueous solution as compared to a solution with alcohol in it. So it's that very early extraction, fast extraction of tannin and flavour from the skins before the ferment starts. And that's why we called it rough play, because we treated it really roughly with our feet. We squashed every single berry we could. We also used that opportunity to pull anything green out of the fruit bins. So any stalks that had got through or leaves that had got through, they kind of, after you walk around enough, they start to float to the top, and you can just pick them out and make sure that nothing that wasn't grapes or grape juice, skins or seeds were in those mixes. Nareem, you don't get toe cheese on the nose. You have beautiful, clean toes. But there is a creaminess and a smoothness and a rough and a generosity to it. And so yes, so the tannins are quite firm but delicate, if that makes sense. Jeremy is saying that the wine's inspired by a past life, time in the Yarra Valley, making wine with Mac Forbes, looking to use feet to smudge, etch berries without swishing seeds with metal tannin out early and pressed super early. So that makes sense to me. Hope it makes sense to you guys. So wanting to use feet for more gentle extraction. We didn't want to crush seeds. We wanted to smush the grapes with our little footsies, which is pretty nice. Nareem and Jean are having rough play aperitif, no food yet. Keely's taken Ali to one of her 7 performances. So all the more wine for us. Excellent. Excellent. To smush or smudge each berry without breaking the seeds. So we're wanting, we wanted to get that tannin out early. And so once we'd done all of that, less rough than a press, sure, Fiona, absolutely. But we aimed to break every single berry. So that's where the sort of the roughness, like we were walking around in that fruit for about Shannon, this fruit comes from the garden vineyard. So your neighbour's on the other side. So yes, so gentle play really, but that might have been a nicer name for the wine. In fact, it's changing its name, and we'll talk about that later. My feeling, I mean, the reason I came up with the name, and I take full responsibility for the name, was that we really kind of, we jumped around on those grapes pretty hard for quite a long time, about 45 minutes to an hour each vat, and then we put them into a fermenter and got them started fermenting, but we pressed them off really, really early. So we didn't want them on skins for too long. We didn't want to extract those more savoury flavours or heavy tannins. So that comes back to your comment, Rob, about the delicate tannins in the wine. So Dave is saying the garden is whole bunch and this is whole toes, indeed. So yes, the thing, can you not turn the lights off, please, Jill? I'm trying to do drinks with Kate. Go and sit down and drink your wine. God, it's hard. The people that I have to work with around here is unbelievable. Well, that's through there, those lights. Now, shush, such a menace. Shell said you're being a menace, Jill, and Nareem says hello. Rob wasn't aware it was from the garden vineyard, but now I reflect it actually tastes like garden. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we haven't made a fuss about it. Worth it if you get Riettes. I know, Fiona, I do put up with a lot for Riettes. This is very true. And I don't want to have to learn to make them myself. So I guess I'll have to keep being reasonably nice to her about it. So, yeah, garden vineyard, but not the same block as the single vineyard. So the garden vineyard's got a couple of blocks. There's the back block, which is where the single vineyard traditionally has come from, and the house block, which generally we've used that fruit to go into estate Pinot Noir, but we separated a little bit of that to make this wine, and we really love it. And I think Rita's saying yes. And this, okay, hang on. I'll come back to your comment, Rita, because I think it's a very good one. Nareem, is it still pressed post-ferment, or is this all free-run juice, normal oak treatment as per other duck Pinots? Nareem wants to know. Dad, can I have the bottle back, please? If you have a look at the label, you'll see actually, if you have a look at the label, then thank you, then it tells you everything that we did. So I'm going to have to take my glasses off to read it. Oh, no, it doesn't actually. Sorry, I lie. Pressed early for freshness, so that it's not like the Magic Stalk Shiraz has all of the steps on it. This one just had a little bit of poetry there. Craig, I watched 50 Shades of Grey to be inspired for the wine. By the time I was 10 minutes in, I needed a drink. See, Craig, this is my problem, that everyone's got a one-track mind. I didn't even think of it being a sexy name when I came up with it, and I don't think any of us did until we kind of popped it on the label and people started getting upset about it. So Nareem, just to finish answering your question, it's pressed partway through fermentation early. It's not free-run juice. It sees, I think, a little bit of new oak, but not very much. Pressed just before it's dry, Jeremy's saying. Bottle 2 without a decant is no different, David said. So there you go. Craig's being naughty. You'll get censored soon, Craig, if you don't behave yourself. Jeremy, does this one have any new oak in it? I can't remember. I have a feeling that it doesn't, because I think it was just one barrel. So I think it's all old oak. And one barrel means that we only made 24 dozen of the wine. So there's not that much around. No new oak. There you go. Thank you, Jeremy. Fiona disagrees with David. I think there's more fruit in the second bottle. That's what I would expect, Fee. I would expect if you had the bottle decanted for 2 hours, you would have lost quite a lot of fruit, but you would have developed some more softness, and the creaminess would have come forward. So you'll see the wine evolve more in the glass if you haven't decanted it. If you gave it a quick decant before putting in the glass, then that's probably a good compromise, but I don't think it needed it. So just before Rita's comment disappears, she said, I wonder if the name rough might cause a bias in people thinking that it's rough in taste. And I think that was part of our problem for this wine. I think that the biggest issue for this wine was that we released it. It's 2021. We released it just as quickly as we could, and we were still in sort of COVID lockdown, so we didn't really have a chance to promote it to anyone except for you guys. And you guys were doing a fantastic job of drinking as much Moorooduc as you possibly could, but, can't expect you to take up all the slack. We also, because after all the lockdowns finished at the end of 21 into 22, everything just got completely hectic. And we didn't make a lot of this wine, so we didn't really have the opportunity to kind of launch it to anyone else through the wine club or anything, because we had so much else to go on with. And so we sold a bit and we kept a bit, and we've got little bits of little bits of this wine floating around, and I think that it's a lovely wine. And I think we probably released it a little bit early, to be fair. When we first released it, I remember we had it with, I think we had it with Party Pies, and it was really tight and kind of, the tannins were quite firm when it was young, and it was crunchy, and it needed kind of fatty, rich food, which is another reason I suggested sort of charcuterie and terrine and rillettes, that kind of thing. So it does still need sort of a meaty, oily kind of a base to it. But it's absolutely softened out now. I think it's really rather lovely. So, Sonia, it's International Play Day today, so appropriate with name for us. Absolutely. Oh, good. Excellent. Thank you, Sonia. Okay, I'm not going to go back to Craig and Kay's conversation. You guys can talk about that in private. Fee is a super taster. Dave, Fee made me do side-by-side decanted versus not. Can't disagree on fruit and softness. Jack's wondering if this one had a hand-written label original. The Magic Stalks, Jack, the Magic Stalks was the wine that had that original handwritten label in 2020. And gosh, that was a piece, that was a work of art. But yeah, this experiment was kind of inspired by the Magic Stalks experiment that we'd done the year before. And the Magic Stalks wine is evolving as well. Hello, Zach. Hello, Jack. Zach was here before. Good to see you. Shannon said when I poured it into the decanter, it had a little sediment. Well, that's probably not surprising because it's a wine that had a lot of tannin, and I think those tannins will have polymerized in the bottle and maybe dropped out. Nareem, I'm getting heaps of tannin. Distracted, however, are they Richard's birthday cards still on the mantelpiece? Good spot, Nareem. They are not. They are works of art by our very good friend Lisa O'Keefe, who won't be watching tonight, but if you are, Lisa, cheers. Jill's got all of your Theatre of the Absurd pictures up the back. In fact, I'm going to unclip you from the light. I'm going to take you over to visit the pictures because they're rather lovely. We don't often get a chance to show off Lisa's pictures, and we've got a couple. Jill's bought a couple of her bigger pictures, but they're pen and ink mostly. It's called the Theatre of the Absurd, and they're just lovely little whimsical people, funny little people, gnomey kind of creatures. This is one of my favourites. I think this is gorgeous. Pretty cool, huh? So Lisa owns a standard poodle who's a couple of months younger than Polly, and we met at dog school with our previous dogs, and we've been friends ever since. So Lisa brought those over yesterday for us to have a look at because Mum and I are thinking about maybe buying one or two. They're rather gorgeous. Oh yes, Dave and Fiona met Lisa on. I'm leaving the light off. I think the lighting's better without that tonight. So hopefully you can still see me. Indeed, Nareem. It's all of the themes are coming together. The art is pretty. There's lots of wobbly towers of different characters in those pictures. They're rather fun. But yes, Lisa has a website. Lisa O'Keefe is her name. And it's worth having a look at her stuff. And if anyone needs a connection to her, just let me know. We go for a dog walk with her most Wednesdays, and she's a really lovely person, very talented. All right, that's enough spruiking Lisa's art. Let's get back to the wine. Rob has been focusing on the rough play and return to the Devil Ben Creek, which now seems a little dull. I know it's not. Does drinking a wine with firm tannins reduce our sensitivity to fruit? I think that's a really good observation, Rob, and a really good question. And I think that our palate gets accustomed to tannin in a wine pretty quickly, and you kind of your palate fortifies and then is looking for that structure. And if you go back to a softer wine that has a bit more fruit, then it will tend to just look a little bit less structured, and maybe a little bit duller. So yes, I would always suggest going from a less tannic wine to a more tannic wine rather than the other way around, unless you're really changing up the food offering in between. As a compare and contrast, that's pretty awesome. Yes, David's saying also that back to Lisa, she's having a show at a gallery in Flinders Lane in November, and I'll get the details and I'll spruik it to you guys closer to November, because that would be a really fun thing to go along to her opening of her show for Drinks with Kate. We will be offering to sponsor the opening with Moorooduc Estate wine as well, so that's another good reason to go and check it out in Flinders Lane. With some other friends. We could have a Drinks with Kate art viewing and then post-art viewing dinner. We'll work on it. November. That's a little way away still. So what am I missing? Craig is saying that Joan's salty arancini really goes well with this one. Mushy set off the tannin. I think salty food is really good with this wine. It's because it's got those tannins. Funnily enough, salt and tannin really sorry, I got distracted by puppy talk. Salty food and tannins really soften each other. So a tannic wine with salty food makes the tannins feel a bit softer and makes the salt seem a little bit less overt. And I'm going to put some food in my mouth because I think I need it. Hang on. Okay. Feast still on the decanted wine. I think I'm getting some woody herbs such as cinnamon and cloves. Absolutely. David Inchley, I think that's lovely that Nagi has a new puppy called Jaffel, but I'm not sure what it's got to do with Pinot Noir or Rietz. Yes, okay. Now I've lost them all to puppy talk, Jill. Shannon, speaking of art, the new pictures in Celador of the houses, they are so cool. Thank you for mentioning that, Shannon. That is my brother-in-law, Gwendal. Gwendal has been doing all the paintings that we've had on sale out at Celador. I was just saying we should probably have some of Lisa's art in there if she would like to use our space to show some things off. But we have to, at the moment it's Gwendal's gallery, so we just need to getting the politics right is important. We might not be professional enough for her as far as the hanging is concerned. But the new pics in Celador are of Mount Eliza, because Beck and Gwendal and Maddie moved to Mount Eliza over summer, and he's been very inspired by the beautiful houses and hills and trees around, and the color palette is really different from his Victorian Alps paintings that he's done before. So yeah, they're really lovely. So if you haven't been into Celador, yes, come and check them out. Yeah, very cool. So Peter and Karen are saying that explains why the salt in the Rietz is so good with the wine. It is absolutely. I think the salt is very good, and the Rietz. Rita's saying the Rietz is a brilliant match with the wine, making the wine quite smooth. I think that's right. So we go back to Leonie's comment right at the beginning that this wine has a creaminess, and for me, it tastes like a savoury version of like a boysenberry ice cream or a cherry yogurt, but it doesn't have the tanginess of yogurt. So I agree, it's got that creaminess. It's got this creamy lusciousness. It's not sweet, but it's also it's not sort of tangy like cheese or like sour cream. It's got that real kind of creamy softness to it, which is really, really lovely. And it works very well with Rietz, because as well as Rietz having a huge amount of saltiness to them, they have a huge amount of fat in them. Don't look at how much fat they've got in them, particularly if you're trying to diet, because they are not diet food, but it's why they taste so good. Lots of salt, lots of fat, a little bit of duck in there as well, and some other magical ingredients. It's pretty awesome. Rita, you are going to have to pop into Celador to have a look at the new paintings. They're really awesome. And David saying that Mum loves boysenberry ice cream. It's always been one of my favourites, boysenberry ripple ice cream. And this wine reminds me of that without the sweetness, but all the flavours are there otherwise. Need heart attack mash to go with the heart attack rants. I know we're not being very kind to our hearts or our waistlines at the moment, but anyway, we might have a salad with no, we won't. Don't worry, it's okay. Or a French salad with lots of like lardons, chunks of fried bacon and cheese. Shell is confirming it's a mushroom-friendly wine. My ad reaction for the win. Excellent. So I think this wine, it's really interesting. It's got a really different shape to it than the other Moorooduc Estate Pinot Noirs. Can't make friends with salad. Absolutely, David. So Kay saying the duck and fig terrine I have from Henry's is awesome. Goes well with the Magic Stalks, but it would have been amazing with any of the Pinot Noirs. The duck and orange doesn't work. See, this is one of my little pet peeves. Duck à l'orange, I know, is a classic French dish. I love orange flavoured things. I love duck. I do not understand duck à l'orange. I understand duck with cherries because cherries are Pinot Noir flavoured. Pinot Noir is cherry flavoured. Duck goes with Pinot Noir. Duck with orange, yes, great. But what wine do you put with it? I don't understand. And I'm sure that there will be people out there who are shouting at me or who will tell me orange wine, obviously, says Shell. Thank you very much. But yeah, I think duck and orange is apparently a classic food, a classic dish, but it doesn't compute for my wine brain. Thank you, Rob. It's absolutely spoken like a true wine head. And all of you know that when I go to a restaurant, I look at the wine list before I decide what I'm going to eat, or I decide what I'm going to eat because I know what sort of wine it is that I'm looking for in the wine list. So whiskey and orange, yes, of course, David, but then you want to drink whiskey with it, not wine, which is fine. But yeah, we're Pinot Noir here. Come on. Sauterne with duck and orange, maybe duck and orange. I'm not sure. I think Pinot Gris on skins would work with it, Fee. Absolutely. Later on, wine is the master, food the slave. Rob, yeah, it's not that simple for me. Wine is. We're always wine forward, obviously, but the right food with the right wine is so exciting. And it's really disappointing when you have an amazing wine and ho-hum food. But it's more disappointing for me when I go to a restaurant that has really lovely food and really boring wine list, because it just kind of brings it down. So maybe wine is the king and food is the queen. Maybe, I don't know. I think that they make a nice they make a sort of a good couple. One without the other is less fun than the two of them together. I'm not quite sure what the analogy is there. Anyway, I'm sure you'll come up with it. Pinot Gris on skins goes with everything, correct? When I'm having trouble with a pair, Pinot Gris on skins is often the answer. Well, we were talking about Indian food matching to wine the other week when we had the Nazare Pinot, and that was great with the chicken dish that Parandeep sent us. But I was talking to a young Indian couple at Celador on the weekend, and he's a restaurateur. I think she's pretty foodie winey as well. And they were saying that the Pinot Gris on skins is a fantastic match to most of the food that they like to eat, and so that works quite well. Rob, each must respect the other. That's correct. I think it must be a respectful relationship on both sides, which is nice. They can be friends together. Okay, I don't get what the just drink what you like. I don't get what the just drink what you like was happening about 10 years ago. Look, also, if people just want to drink what they like, that's fine. Just don't expect me to join in necessarily if it's not. And I do think there is more to food and wine matching than red wine with steak and white wine with fish. You know, you can do a very good food and wine match with red wine and fish if you get the right red wine and the right fish. And we've talked about cheese a lot, but I'm not a big component of 3 different cheeses with your heavy red wine at the end of the night. Anywho, we're going off topic, but that's okay because, you know, it's been one of those weeks and my brain is like, whoa. So I'm following the threads, and I'm following the threads back to Shell's comment. I had a Portuguese white with a spicy going fish curry last night, and it was perfection. The wine made such a difference. I imagine that would have been awesome. Absolutely. Zach and Jack, allegedly a Gewürz is an option with with what? Spicy food? DRO. You're going to have to help me. A lot of Asians laugh. Duck à l'orange. Oh, thank you. Sorry. Of course, the thing we were just talking about 2 seconds ago. Thank you, Fee, for helping me and my poor little brain. So Gewürz is an option with Duck à l'orange. It could work, absolutely. I like Gewürz with porky things, and I like, when I say porky things, I'm thinking about like a quiche Lorraine or a good old pork knuckle is pretty good with Gewürztraminer. But Gewürztraminer is also great with a cheese platter at the end of the night. Washed rind, stinky cheese, soft cheese. Even if it's got a little bit of sweetness, it works quite well with a gentle blue cheese. And Gewürztraminer could work really well with rillettes, Pete. Yeah, absolutely. Coming back to our rillettes. It's a bit like Sauterne. Dad mentioned Sauterne before to go with Duck à l'orange, and I think that could work really well in Bordeaux. In Sauterne, they tend to drink Sauterne not as a dessert. Hang on, I'll try that again. Not as a dessert wine, but rather as a wine to go with their local dishes, and they'll serve it with a pork. Mum makes an amazing pork and prunes dish with cream in the sauce, and that's incredible with Sauterne. When we were in Sauterne, we had it with a veal casserole. It's also great with a roast chicken, Sauterne, and people go, oh, but it's sweet wine. It's like, yeah, but it works with those flavours. Okay. Oh, Rita. Oh, my goodness. Sorry, I just put food in my mouth. And then I read Rita's question off topic.
It says here.
Jill's, hang on a sec. Yep. Yeah, apparently Jill's been looking up the Googles, and it agrees that Gewürztraminer is the textbook pairing for Duck à l'orange. Apart from Gewürztraminer, Pinot Noir or a Beaujolais, which that would make me unhappy. A good rosé, maybe. Sparkling wine, I could think of so many other things that I would want to drink with champagne than Duck à l'orange. But anyway, thank you, Jill. I'm still going to avoid Duck à l'orange on the principle that it doesn't go with the wines that I like to drink. Maybe I haven't had a good classic one. Maybe one day I'll be turned. Okay, so Rita wants to know about white Pinot. So I'm not sure why you're seeing it on social media a bit in the last week, Rita, but white Pinot is basically Pinot Noir grapes made as a white wine, which means that you pick the grapes and you press the juice off the skins and you ferment the juice without the skins, because all the colour for Pinot Noir is in the skins. If you do that, you make quite a soft, inoffensive white wine. I'm not quite sure. I do know why you would do it. You would do it if you had, you would do it for a few reasons. You'd do it if you had Pinot Noir that had overcropped from young vines. Yeah, so champagne with no bubbles. Tom from Queerley. Now Old Man Son does a stunning botrytis. Yeah, cool. Yum. Yes, David. Yeah. Tom's a very clever young man. Rob saying that he's enjoying the wine is charming, and I agree. I think of it as the garden you're having when you're not having a garden. It's not as much, you don't have to work as hard with it as you do with a regular garden. And Nareem is saying, I like a nice Alsace Pinot Blanc. Also, Jean wants to know when the Kate Food Wine Match book is coming out. Okay, we'll work on that. Indeed, Zach and Jack, inoffensive white Pinot. There's not, so I don't know anyone who would make white Pinot with Pinot Noir fruit that's good enough to make into good red Pinot Noir. So either it's young vines and the fruit's not exciting enough to make into a red wine, or the business needs white wine more than they need red wine, and so they're making a business choice to make white wine out of Pinot Noir. Jeremy does know. Jeremy's going to tell us where I'm going wrong. Please elucidate, Jeremy, if you have the opportunity. I think there are also people who would make white Pinot because they've had smoke taint in the vineyard, which might be what Jeremy's about to mention, because if you've had a bushfire year and there's smoke taint in the vineyard, then the best thing to do is get rid of those skins, press the juice off, ferment it as white wine, and sell it and drink it early to keep it away from the smoke taint. So that's the only reason for me that I would choose to do a white Pinot, but that doesn't mean that other people don't choose to make one that is delicious. David saying Curly Flat does a lovely white Pinot in summer. They're not bad wines, don't get me wrong. I just, because I'm biased, because I like making and I like drinking Pinot Noir that's been made into red wine, I feel like it's a little bit of a waste. But you also, people can make rosé out of Pinot Noir if they we're waiting for popcorn for Jeremy's response. So Pinot Rosé is okay, but I like rosé made out of Grenache from warmer climates better. I think that's delicious. And Curly Flats do also do wonderful Pinot Noir. And I wonder whether Curly Flat does it's also, if you make white Pinot Noir from your young vine fruit or from your excess Pinot Noir fruit, you can get it bottled and get it sold much quicker than you can the Pinot Noir. So cash flow is another reason for making white Pinot Noir. But also people might do it just because they're passionate about making a white wine from Pinot Noir. I wouldn't want to if I didn't have to. But if you had to, you can do some really good stuff. So Jeremy's answer is it might be an option if you've entered a very hot, rapid ripening vintage and your winery has no space for vats on skins, or as mentioned, smoke taint issues would be an excellent reason. Thank you, Jeremy. I got one of the answers right. Yeah, if it's, if everything's ripening really fast and you've got too much Pinot to deal with, pressing off the juice and fermenting it and making white wine from some of it is a really good option. So yeah, thank you, Jeremy. The logistics of managing a winery during vintage is part of the business model of making wine that we don't think about very often and that we always should. Fee is saying it's like using calamari to catch a snapper when you can just eat the calamari and not bother with the snapper. Coming from a true fisherwoman who doesn't like fish. I quite like snapper, but I also like calamari. So I'm not. It's a good analogy. Shell, Andrew's dad pulled out a Capital Wines Canberra over the weekend, and it was red water plus many chewy bits. Thanks to your tutelage, we knew how to describe all the ways it was terrible wine. Oh dear. Sorry to hear that. And Craig is saying bad things about as well. So maybe that's a brand, that's somewhere we don't need to go and visit when we go on our Canberra wine tasting trip. Nareem saying, can't believe Curly Flat makes white Pinot when their red version is awesome. It's a good way, Nareem, to deal with a bit of excess fruit. I think we've said enough about white Pinot and besmirched enough businesses other than ourselves now. I think let's move back to, how's this Pinot looking? The sink, thank you, Shell. It might have made good cooking wine, you never know. It's always a learning experience. All right, I've just poured myself a little bit more wine. And I'm loving the, it's really interesting. We've talked about the creaminess of the wine. We've talked about the softness of it. We've talked about the tannins. We haven't talked much about the fruit profile, apart from me saying it reminds me of boysenberry ripple ice cream. But there is something sort of soft and boysenberry-ish about it. There's a bit of dark cherry, but there's not. And I think that Fee was saying that when the wine had sort of been decanted for a while, there was some cinnamon and clove spice coming through. I'm not seeing that on this wine. Dave Inchley, okay, so Curly Flats, our approach to white Pinot is simple. We pick Pinot Noir at the same ripeness as our estate wine. Instead of placing it in a fermenter, we simply place it in the press for a gentle 2-hour press cycle. This leads to a gentle extraction of Pinot Noir skins, resulting in pale pink juice fermented indigenously in neutral French oak puncheons. The result is a Pinot Noir made as a white wine or possibly a slightly pink wine. And that's beautiful. And I think if people want to do that, and I think that a business like Curly Flat are going to make a beautiful white Pinot Noir as much as they're going to make a beautiful red Pinot Noir. And perhaps one day Moorooduc will make a white Pinot Noir as well. But at the moment, we haven't so far. There you go. Fiona, I am on the non-decanted Pinot and decided that I should have started drinking the decanted one at 4 p.m. I agree, Fee. I think potentially it was decanted a little early, but because you have 2 bottles, you are able to compare and contrast. It's always a learning experience. Jeremy said, no, we're not going to make, Jeremy says, no, we're not going to make white Pinot. That's excellent. Thank you, Jeremy. Every label is a caricature of a politician. The wine gets the same respect as our current crop. Enough said, Craig. Thank you. Okay, all right. I'm going to break this up now. Shell, fascinating watching you both on the wine chat during Drinks with Kate in Adelaide. Imagine every Thursday, you both giggling on your phones. Absolutely. No is a complete sentence. Absolutely. Alison, it's a very easy to drink. Are you talking about this wine or white Pinot? Well, I'm not talking about white Pinot anymore. I've stopped talking about white Pinot. This wine, I think, is very easy to drink. I love this wine. I love this experiment. It's lots of fun, even just because. Thank you, Alison. I love this wine partly because the very start of making it, I get to stomp around in grapes and drink a gin and tonic for an hour, which is super fun. Kay, we do have some. I'm not sure how much, but we do have some. Give us a hoy tomorrow, and we'll let you know. David does have Fee as a censor. It's very easy to drink. We are continuing making this wine, but under a different name and a different label. Oh dear. We have a break next week. I know that at least a couple of you are coming to the Navi dinner next Thursday, which will be fabulous. I look forward to seeing you there. I think that'll be such fun. Shannon wants to know, why not drink Pinot while stomping? You don't waste what you spill. Because when you're making wine, there's a saying in the wine industry, it takes a lot of beer to make good wine. I'm not a huge beer drinker, but I do like a gin and tonic. At the end of a day of vintage, either a beer or a gin and tonic is very refreshing in a way that wine isn't. And it was part of the beginning of this wine that we're like, okay, well, let's make a gin and tonic and we'll get in there and we'll stomp around until everything's squashed. We worked out it takes about 45 minutes to an hour. It doesn't take me that long to drink a gin and tonic, but it does make it a bit more fun along the way. So yes, David and Fee, I think, are coming to Navi. There are a couple of tickets left. I know Rita's coming. Rita's coming to Navi. I don't know who else is coming to Navi, but whoever's coming, I'm looking forward to seeing you. As David said, there's 4 or 5 tickets still left. So if you haven't booked and you're having pre-Navi FOMO, get onto it. It's going to be amazing, and we're going to have lots of fun. Zach and Jack just distilled your first batch of gin. Yikes! That'll be interesting. Peter, the 21 Rough Play Pinot is available to members in the web shop. Jump on the web shop. It's available to you right now. Hurrah! Kay's off on the caravan the next day to a big wine night, so big wine not advisable. Fair enough, Kay. Hope to use a wine base wash in the future, says Zach and Jack. I look forward to hearing more about your gin and possibly tasting. Do you know what you're doing? I hope you're getting your tops and tails right, because that can be a bit tricky, but I'm sure you know exactly what you're doing. You just need, thank you, Peter. So wine club members, which most of you are, if you're in the wine club, you just need to jump on the shop, log in, and then you've got access to this wine. You can buy as much of that as you like on the shop. Or give Liz a call tomorrow and she'll be able to sort you out. Fee, park the van somewhere in Yarraville, Kate. That's a good idea. All right. Well, I'll leave you guys to plot and plan. It's been a delight, everyone. 52 minutes and 15 seconds in. I'm going to love you and leave you. Say cheers to that. The web shop reminds me of my dad coming home from the beer shop. Thank you. Thank you. Jump on the website, get on the shop, buy some of this. It's delicious. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to be tasting the new evolution of this wine from 2023 with the sexy new label on it. We'll tell you all about it at the time. You've probably already admired it. But in the meantime, love you all lots. Take care, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks unless I see you at Navi first or at Celador first. Cheers, everyone. Bye.